Hello everyone, welcome to Java Learners. In this video, we will learn how to use add bean annotation to create beans in the Spring application. The add bean annotation is used at the method level. This annotation indicates that the instance which is returned by the method would be registered in the application context as a bean and it would be managed by Spring IOC container. The admin annotation is applied at the method level and these methods are defined in the configuration classes. Configuration classes are the classes which are annotated with at configuration annotation. Here in the screenshot, we have one class named as notification config. It's a configuration class and it is annotated with at configuration annotation. This class has one method, that is email, and this method is annotated with add_bean annotation. This method returns a bean of type email notification. When Spring application starts, the Spring scans for the configuration classes. The configuration classes are the classes which are annotated with add configuration annotation. In the configuration classes, it looks for the methods which are annotated with add_bean annotation. The methods which are annotated with add_bean annotation are executed and the instances which are returned by the bean methods are registered into the application context. And those instances are called beans and those beans are managed by Spring IOC container. In the Spring applications, we can create beans by applying the add component and add service annotation of the classes. Then why do we need to use add bean annotation to create a bean in the application? To understand this, let's talk about a use case. Here on the screen, you can see that we have one class named as email notification. In this class, we have two constructors. So the first constructor is no argument constructor and the second constructor is one argument constructor. This class supports the functionality to attach the attachment in the email. In the application, we have the requirement that we need two beans of type email notification. The first bean would not allow the attachment, but the second bean would allow the attachment. So actually we are going to have two beans for email notification. If we try to achieve this using the add component annotation, then what will happen? The add component annotation is applied on the class. When the Spring application will start, it will create the bean for email notification. And throughout the application, it is going to use that bean. On the no argument constructor, we have applied the at autowired annotation. So this constructor would be invoked whenever the bean for email notification would be created. So using the add component annotation, we would not be able to create two beans for email notification. Using the add component annotation, we can create only one bean for email notification. We cannot create two beans for email notification. Using the add bean annotation, we can do this. So here at the right hand side, you can see that in the notification config class, we have two bean methods. The first bean method is invoking the no argument constructor of the email notification, and the second bean method is invoking the one argument constructor of the email notification. And in the constructor, we are passing the value true. The first bean will not allow the attachments, while the second bean will allow the attachments. The name of the first bean would be email and the name for the second bean would be email with attachment. So when we do not define the names for the beans, then the method name is considered the name for the bean. There is one more use case where we can use add bean annotation. Suppose we have a jar file and in that jar file we have this email notification class. Now the requirement is that we want to create the bean for email notification. Using the add component or using the add service annotation, we cannot create the bean for email notification because this email notification class is present in the jar file so we cannot modify this email notification class. Using the bean annotation, we can create the bean for email notification. What we have to do, we have to create one configuration class and we will annotate that configuration class with at configuration annotation. In that configuration class, we need to create one method, and that method will return the instance for email notification, and we will annotate that method with bean annotation. To understand the bean annotation, we are going to implement the following class diagram. In this class diagram, we can see that we have one interface named as notification, and this notification interface has two implementation classes. Those implementation classes are email notification and SMS notification. In the notification interface, we have one send method, and that send method would be implemented by both of these classes. We have notification sender class, and this notification sender class has the dependency of notification. This notification sender class has one method send, and that send method will internally invoke the either email notification send method or SMS notification send method. We have one class named as notification config. It would be the configuration class, and in the configuration class we will have two methods, two bean methods, and those methods would be annotated with bean annotation, and those methods will create beans for email notification and SMS notification. There are annotations which can be used with bean annotation. The first annotation is primary annotation. The primary annotation is used to mark a bean primary. It means that the bean would be given preference when there are multiple beans present of the same type. And the second annotation is lazy annotation, and lazy annotation can be used with bean annotation to initialize a bean lazily. The scope annotation can also be used with bean annotation to define the scope of the bean. By default, the scope of bean would be singleton. With bean annotation, we can also use depends on annotation to specify the bean that should be created before the bean. Using the description annotation, we can provide the description to the bean, and this is basically useful for documentation purposes. I'm going to create one Spring Boot application, and in the Spring Boot application I'm going to use Spring Boot version 3.4.3 and the Java version would be 21. In this application I'm going to use three dependencies. The first dependency is Spring Web. I'm using Spring Web dependency because I'm going to create some RESTful endpoints. The second dependency is Spring Boot DevTools. This would be useful when we will make changes in the classes, then those changes would be deployed automatically. The third dependency is Spring Boot Actuator. I'm going to use this dependency because I want to see all the bean definitions which are initialized when the application is started, and I can also check whether this application is up or down. Here I have imported the project that I created using the Spring Initializer. In this project, you can see that in the build.gradle file, the Spring Boot version is 3.4.3. In the dependencies, we can see that we are going to use Spring Boot Starter Actuator, Spring Boot Starter Web, and Spring Boot DevTools. And the Java version is 21. In the application.properties file, I have added one property. I will explain the use of this property later. In this project, I have created two packages which are notification and service. In the notification package, I have created one interface named as notification. In this notification interface, we have one method which is send. I have created a class named as email notification. This class implements notification interface. This class is annotated with component annotation, and in this class I have created one variable that is attachment allowed. It would be true when the attachment would be allowed, and it would be false when the attachments would not be allowed. In this class, I have created two constructors. The first one is no argument constructor, and the second one is one argument constructor, which is going to take the boolean value, and that value will represent whether the attachment is allowed or not. In this class, I have also created one method in it, and this method would be used to perform the initialization task whenever the bean is created. I have also created one method named cleanup, and this method would be used whenever the object for email notification would be garbage collected. In this class, I have also provided the implementation for send method, which is coming from the notification interface. This class is annotated with add component annotation. So it means that whenever the application will run, the application will create a bean for email notification. But here we have two constructors, so the Spring would not be able to identify which constructor it has to invoke. By using the @AutoAdd annotation, I am going to specify which constructor would be invoked. In the notification package, I have also created one class named as SMS notification. The SMS notification class implements notification interface. In this class, I have also created one no argument constructor, and that would be invoked whenever the bean for SMS notification would be created. In this class, I have also provided the implementation of the send method, which is coming from the notification interface. In the service package, I have also created one class named as notification sender. In the notification sender class, I have created one variable of type notification. So here we are going to inject the email notification or SMS notification dependencies. In this class, I have also created one no argument constructor, and this constructor would be invoked when the bean for notification sender would be created. In this class, I have also created one method which is send, and the send method will internally use the notification object to send the notification. Here in the main method, you can see that by using the getBean method, we are getting the bean for notification sender, and then on that bean we are going to invoke the send method. Now I am going to run this application. Here you can see that the bean for email notification is created and the no argument constructor is invoked. The bean for notification sender is also created, and here we can also see the messages which are present in the send method of email notification class. So here we can see the bean ID, which is basically the hash code of the bean, and then we have one message that email notification is sent. Whenever the bean for email notification would be created, at that time a false would be assigned to is attachment allowed variable. So here we have created the email notification bean which does not allow attachments. What if I have the requirement that I want to allow the attachments? Here in the application, we have the requirement that we should have two email notification beans. The first email notification bean will not allow the attachment, but the second email notification bean will allow the attachment. So we require two beans for email notification. By using the add component annotation, we cannot achieve that. Using the add bean annotation, we can create two beans for email notification, where the one bean will allow the attachment while the other will not allow the attachments. In the project, I have created one more package named as config. In the config package, I have created one class named as notification config. It's a configuration class, So I have annotated it with at configuration annotation. In this configuration class, I have created two methods, and both of these methods are annotated with @bean annotation. Using the first method, we will create a bean which will not allow the attachments. While using the second method, we will create the bean for email notification which will allow the attachments. In the second bean, we are passing the true value in the constructor to allow the attachments. Here we are creating the beans using the @bean annotation. So from the email notification class, I need to remove the @component and @autowired annotations. I have removed all of them. Now I'm going to run the application. Yeah, so here we are getting the error, and the error is that it required only a single bean, but it is getting two beans. The first bean is email and the second bean is email with attachment. So in the notification sender, we have to specify which bean we want to inject. Using the @qualifier annotation, I can do that. So here I am going to provide the name for email bean, which will not allow the attachments. Let me make one change in the email notification send method. As of now, we are able to see the message that the attachment is allowed only when the attachment is allowed. When the attachment is not allowed, we are not seeing any message. So I'm going to add the message. Let me run it. Here we can see that two beans are created for email notification. One bean will allow the attachment while the other will not allow the attachment. Here we can see one message that attachment not allowed. So here the send method of email notification bean is invoked, and the bean does not allow the attachments. In the notification sender, now I am going to specify the name of bean that allows the attachments. Instead of email, I'm going to use email with attachment. Now I'm going to run it. So here we can see that the attachment allowed message is printed on the screen. So it means that the send method of email notification is invoked where the attachment is allowed. When we do not specify the names for the beans, in that case the method name is considered the name of the bean. For the first bean, the name of the bean would be email, and for the second bean, the name would be email with attachment. But this is not a good practice to use names of the methods as the bean names. So it is better to specify the names, because if I refactor this method, right, and if I run the application again, so here we can see that the error is occurred, and the error is that using the qualifier, it is looking for the bean with name email with attachment, and it has not found any bean in the application with this name. We can specify the bean names. So here I'm going to do that. In the bean annotation, we can specify the names for the beans. Now if I update the name of this method and if I run the application, then this application is not going to fail. So here you can see that application is running successfully. In the build.gradle file, we can see that we have added one dependency, which is Spring Boot Starter Actuator. The actuator dependency is going to expose one REST endpoint, and using that REST endpoint we can find all the beans which are registered in the application context. This actuator dependency also exposes one endpoint by which we can find out whether the Spring Web application is up or down. In the application.properties file, I have added one property and its name is management.endpoints.web.exposure.include, and in its value I am going to provide the star. So this property will enable the REST endpoint which will expose the beans. Now I am going to run the application. It's a web application, so it would be running on the server. And here we can see that it is running on port 8080. So now what I am going to do, I am going to open the Chrome browser, and here I am going to use the REST endpoint which we can use to find whether the application is up or down. So that endpoint is localhost colon 8080 actuator and then health. So here we can see that our app is up. We have another endpoint which we can use to get all the beans which are registered in the application context. So here you can see that the endpoint is localhost and then port and then actuator and then beans. Here I am going to search for email notification bean. Here you can see that one bean with name email with attachment is present here, and its scope is singleton, and the package where it is present is com.learn.bean.annotation.notification, and the class name is email notification, and its resource is the notification config class, and it's a configuration class where we have created this email notification bean. And here you can see that one more bean is created and its name is email, and its scope is singleton, and its type is com.learn.bean.annotation.notification.email notification, and its resource is the notification config class where we have created this bean. So we have created two different beans, right? So here we have seen that two beans are present in the application context. The name of the one bean is email and the name of the other bean is email with attachment. In the bean annotation, we can provide multiple names to the bean. So here we are giving one single name. Now I am going to provide multiple names to the beans. So it is going to accept an array of names. And for the second bean, I am also going to do the same thing. Let me use this name in the notification sender. In the qualifier, I'm going to use that name. Let me run it. So here we can see that application is still running. There are multiple attributes available in the bean annotation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to invoke the init method and cleanup method from the email notification class using those attributes. So one attribute is init method. Using the init method, we can specify the name of the method which we want to invoke when the bean is initialized. So here I am going to specify that name, and we can also specify the method which would be invoked before the bean is garbage collected. So I am going to specify the name of the cleanup method here. If we are going to use more than one attributes in the at bean annotation, in that case we cannot use this way to assign the name to the beans. So we have to use one attribute, that is value or name, and using the value or name attributes we can provide the names to the beans. So instead of the value attribute I can also use the name attribute, and from here I'm going to copy the bean name, and in the notification sender, in the qualifier, I'm going to use it. Let me run the application. So here you can see that beans are created for email notification, and here we can also see that init method is invoked from the email notification. The cleanup method is not yet invoked because the bean is not garbage collected yet. So whenever the bean would be garbage collected, at that time that cleanup method would be invoked. With add bean annotation we can also use some other annotations. So here I'm going to use description annotation to provide the description to this bean. This bean does not allow attachments. By using the add description annotation I can provide the documentation to the beans. Here on both of the bean methods I have applied the add description annotation. By using the add description annotation we can provide the documentation to the methods. By reading the description the developers can know why we are creating two beans for email notification. In the notification sender class, by using the add qualifier annotation, we have specified that which dependency would be injected. So whether we want to inject the email notification bean which allows the attachments, or whether we want to inject the dependency that does not allow the attachments. In our application, we have two beans for email notification. One that allows the attachment and the other one that does not allow the attachment. In the application, we want a behavior that if the qualifier annotation is not used, by default, the bean that does not allow the attachments should be injected. So from here, I am going to remove the add qualifier annotation. In the notification config, the first bean does not allow the attachments. So I'm going to make it the default bean for the injection. By using the add primary annotation, we can specify that the bean that does not allow the attachments should be injected anywhere in the application where it is not specified which bean should be injected. So here in this case we have two beans, and in the notification sender it is not specified which bean should be injected. So when Spring IOC container will try to inject the dependency here, then it would not be able to identify which bean it has to inject because it is going to have two beans for email notification. By using the add primary annotation, we have specified when there is an ambiguity in the application. In that case, the bean which is annotated with add primary annotation should be given preference. So if I run this application, so here you can see that the bean that does not allow the attachments is injected in the notification sender, and from the send method of email notification class we can see this message. In the notification package we have the email notification and SMS notification classes. What if these notification classes are not present in this application, but we have one jar file where these classes are present? If we want to create the beans for the classes which are not present in the application, but those classes are present in the jar files, in that case we have to use the add bean annotation. There we cannot use add component or add service annotation because those classes would not be modifiable. So using the add bean annotation, we can create beans for email notification and SMS notification. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this notification package from the bean annotation project, and I will create another project named as a notification, and in that project I will copy this package, and then I will create the build, and then I will uh, get the jar file from that notification project, and I will use that jar file in this bean annotation project. I have copied the classes from the notification package. Now I am going to delete it. Now I am going to create one more project, and the name of the project is notification. In this project I am going to use Java version 21, and in the advanced settings I am going to specify the package name. The package name would be com.lib.notification, and artifact ID is also notification. Now I am going to copy those classes in this project. So here I have copied those classes. I am going to build this project to create the jar file. So before that I am going to make change in the build.gradle file. So I do not want to use this snapshot in the jar file name. So I have removed it. Now I am going to build it. Build is successful. So this is the notification project. In the build, inside the libs, the jar file is generated. So I'm going to copy this jar file from here. In the bean annotation project, I'm going to create one folder, and its name is libs. And in this folder, I'm going to copy the jar file. So it is copied here. In the build.gradle file of bean notification project, we have to specify the jar file which we want to include in this project. At line number 24, you can see that I have specified the name of the jar file that we have copied in the left folder. Now what I'm going to do, now I'm going to clear the cache of IntelliJ. So using the invalidate cache, I'm going to invalidate the cache. Cache is invalidated. Now I'm going to build the bean annotation project. So here we can see that it is filling. Let me check in the notification config. We can see that we are having multiple errors, and why we are getting those errors, because it is referencing the packages which are not present in the application. So we have to import the notification classes again. So here you can see that at the second line, the notification interface is coming from com.lib.notification, and this notification class is present in the jar file, so it is coming from there. So we have to import all the notification classes again from the jar file. Yeah, so it's done. I'm going to run the application again. So I have imported the notification classes from the jar file. So there is no error in this notification sender class. Now I'm going to run the application. Yeah, so here we can see that application is running successfully, and beans for email notification are created. In this video, we have seen how we can use add primary and add description annotation with add bean annotation. In the next video, we will learn how we can use add lazy, add scope, and add depends on annotation with add bean annotation. That's it for this video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And please provide your comments in the comment section. Thank you.